marketing influence. I want you to think about, get in mind, what did the last one-on-one time and opportunity you had with an individual look like? Okay? So once you get that picture in your mind, did you set boundaries before you started that? Meaning your time has a value to it. The value that you have on time is going to impact the thing that is most commonly heard in any type of negotiation of setting an appointment. People do business with who?
People they know, like, and trust.
But there's something missing there. So I'm going to ask yourself, do you do business with people you know, like, and trust? Does it end there, or is it know, like, trust, and respect? We can know a lot of people. We can trust a lot of people. We can like a lot of people. But here's the thing. Remember, the value of your time is critical to building that stone of respect. So if you want to influence, maintain respect, earn respect. It's like I work with students a lot of times, and they, it's an entitlement. I deserve your respect. No. Respect is earned, like trust, one drop at a time in the bucket. Okay? So you contribute, you invest one drop at a time, whether it's a conversation, it's an engagement, just by eye glance, it's acknowledgement when you arrive at an event, one drop at a time. But very quickly, how many of you, just rhetorically thinking about it, think of an incident where your bucket was tipped over and suddenly trust was lost immediately. Respect was lost immediately. Okay. So in the framework of a one-on-one or a network meeting, here's what I really want you to think about. That component of setting an appointment needs to have some boundaries of time. I encourage people, you set your one-on-ones before the lunch meeting. It has to end so that you arrive on time for the lunch meeting. Because what happens when you set it afterwards? You've got this elastic boundary that you may or may not hold. That you may not hold to. And that's critical. So the first thing that I want you to think about is you be clear about what it is that you're doing to market. Anybody in business that has ever had to do a business plan, you always have to begin with the end in mind. So I'm going to ask you, why are you here right now? Why are you watching online? Why are you here in this meeting? You may have a very general, because I help people do X, Y, and Z. But really drill down on it. What are you here to help me do? What are you here to help the person next to you do? What do you plan to go away with and know that you accomplished your goal? You have results for this time. Again, what we invest in time, what we set boundaries in time is, do you even know what your per hour rate is? Because most independent business owners, compared to a corporation, and you need to really think about it, you are the CEO of your business. If you haven't looked at the numbers to look at the ratio of how many one-on-ones you're doing before you have a return on investment that comes out in profit, then you will find out really quickly. And sometimes it can be a disappointment, but other times it can be, okay, you know what, I need to take this number up, not the one-on-one number, I need to take the profitability number up. Because I'm having 15 one-on-ones in a week to make my quotas for this group, for that group, for this, this membership, that membership. And yet the goal of your business is to grow the profitability and increase the results that really the reason that you're there, part of it is. Okay, so keep clear objective. Why did you go to the meeting? Why are you here today? Why are you listening to this marketing influence? You want it to have an impact on you. I mean, I can project that simply because you would not have invested the time in here without expecting to have a return on the investment of your time. So what I want to share with you should, when you apply it, only when you activate it, it's going to make an impact on you. So by doing that, what I want you to understand is you want to create a win, not just a win-win, but a win for the time that you come to the meeting, the time that you set a one-on-one, how do you know that you're moving towards the result? Because the end goal of a one-on-one is not to close the sale right there, especially the first time you sit down with me. Know, like, trust, earn the respect, one drop at a time. Because that respect is going to communicate two ways. I tend to, when I send a one-on-one, is I send an email. This is our time, this is the date, and this much time has been allotted for our time together. I let them know right up front. And if I'm texting, I do the same thing. I have allotted 30 to 45 minutes. You're probably going to get, what can you accomplish in 35 minutes, 30, 45 minutes? I can accomplish a lot in 30, 45 minutes. I don't need it to be an hour and a half, so that I walk away there going, you know what? I know what my per hour rate is. And I know the person that I'm sitting with most of the time is not going to pay me my per hour rate to sit there for an hour. But I've already pre-qualified, not prejudged. Okay, I don't prejudge. I don't know who you know. What I do know is what I'm trying to accomplish in the various business that, one, the business that I own, the business that my husband and I own, and additionally, who I'm listening for. Who are the connections that I already know there's synergy there, automatically, naturally, and that I can definitely contribute to.
What is POMA?
What is TOMA?
I don't know.
So glad you asked. Top of mind awareness.
Oh, okay.
Top of mind awareness. If you don't have top of mind awareness before you arrive at your one-on-one, that conversation can go all kinds of direction, and it's like you're going to hit the goal that you didn't set, and you're never going to know you hit it because you never set it. Okay. But if you know it's a 30-minute appointment, I know that in 30 minutes, here's what I need to do. I need to, and I implement a system called FIRE. Ask about the family. Find out what their interests are. Be relatable. Relatable has to do with authenticity. I mean, we all want somebody that's real, that's legitimately, not wearing the mask, but that is actually being authentic with you. That's a big drop in the bucket. When you're adding drops to earn respect, being authentic is going to endear you. And then the E is two things. It's going to be endearment, and it's also the experience. You're creating the experience in that FIRE, family, interest, relationship, and experience. Leave them with an experience. It's like, you know what? They said 30 minutes. We were done in 30 minutes. I feel like I accomplished something. Not you, what that other person feels like something was accomplished. It's like, wow. Okay. At the end of it, we all know in sales, nothing happens until the sale is done. The transaction is done. So you have to ask. You had time to evaluate. You've had time to assess that conversation and the synergy, the connections that are there. I'm not talking about the emotional vibe feel. Do you like this person? Is there a likability that aligns with the goal you had when you came to the meeting? Yes, sir.
I don't want to monopolize the questions, but I always have ones.
Yeah, you do.
No, that's good. That's good. Questions are good.
But a one-on-one or a first meeting or an introduction or whatever, in my opinion, it's not to close a sale.
It's not. You're right, and that's what I'm saying. You're
Okay.
not there to close a sale. What you
But
there?
you talked about the ask.
Yeah. Well, the ask part is ask for the next appointment.
Okay.
Okay. So you're going to ask, but here's the thing: is how many of you follow up? Follow up. How many of you follow through? What's the difference between following up and following through?
Following through is completing the follow-up.
Okay.
Setting up the next meeting, passing information that they asked for.
So we're gonna talk about. I want you to think about that and see if you can't figure out what the difference between follow up and follow through as we continue to go through the presentation. When you go into a meeting, whether it's a network meeting, it is an event, or it's the one-on-one time, you want to be focused, centered on the other person. Let me just tell you, it's not about you. It's really not about you. If you're wanting people to know you, to like you, to trust you, and you're developing respect, it has to be about gathering information. So the question automatically comes up.
Not really a question, just a comment. One of the things I do when I have a one-on-one with people is I try to get this question in, almost right up front. Is, hey, look, I appreciate you being here with me. obviously a busy person, taking time to meet with me. I really appreciate it. What would you like to accomplish out of this meeting? What is it that you want to accomplish? Because I can sit here and talk about anything, but if we're not talking about what's a concern to you, we're wasting both our times. So what do you want? What do you want to accomplish? What is it that what's your desired outcome for this conversation?
Yeah, so I'm going to ask you that, and that's a very good comment to make. When you make a statement like that and you ask a question of it, what do you hope to gain from wanting to know what the other person wants to gain out of it? What do you hope to gain?
I want to know what they want to accomplish, okay, because my goal is to help them accomplish that. Now, I have my own wants and needs and desires out of that conversation, but personally, I sublimate my personal desires to the conversation, okay? Because I know that I'm not there to sell my product or service or whatever. So I'm there to be of value to that person initially, okay? Because if I add value to them, then that makes me that much closer to their top of mind. I'm the guy they think of when the situation arises. I might generally talk about my business, but I'm not there to sell. And I can't tell you how many times that I go to meetings and I add value to people. And sometimes we don't even talk about my business. But 2 weeks later, I get an email that says, "Hey, Lloyd, you need to whatever," and I got business. I hardly spoke about my business. So,
And the difference in that is the know, the like, and the trust is you've earned the respect. That's the component that sometimes we really need to communicate that, because we overuse the statement that people do business with who they know, like, and trust, and we forget to look inwardly. Is that really true of you? I mean, 100% true of you? There is an element of respect in there, and we need to remember. We can like a lot of people, we can know a lot of people, and we trust a lot of people. Maybe. But the respect column is very, very instrumental in how it is that we will connect the dots, or we will make a referral, or we will, be that top of mind person. It's like, you know what? I know a dozen people in this company or this industry. How is it that you set yourself apart? And it's respect over and over and over again. It's by the respect that's been earned. So be focused, centered on the other person, and remember that one of the opportunities you have, and everybody's going to be listening to this little radio station, what's in it for me? Well, that's why you go back to your goals. What is your end goal of what that time is going to be for you? It doesn't mean that you're going to make the business presentation. It doesn't mean that you're going to close a sale. It means you're going to move the ball a little further down the field, whatever that is. If it's your first initiation of a meeting, then it's, just develop the relationship. You have to develop relationships, because otherwise it's very institutionalized. So I want to talk a little bit about industry and individuals. We are many individuals here, and each of us, it doesn't matter if you think you're an industry, you are. You are an industry entity in of yourself. So what is the difference between an individual and an industry? And I'm just going to pull one out of the hat in just a moment. How many of you meet with realtors or know a realtor? Okay. Okay. How many of you call the people you do business with a customer? Okay. How many of you call them a client? Okay. How many of you would say that when you do a business transaction, it's a sale? No? What do you call it? What do you call it?
No, I said yes.
It is, okay, it's a sale, okay. What would you call it?
On the P&L, it's a sale.
Session.
It's a session, okay, okay. So realtors, they're not selling. Yes, they are selling, but understand, we need to learn the lingo. You need to learn so that when you're communicating, those drops go really quick into the bucket, because if I'm going to meet with a realtor, I mean, I have several lanes here that I can deal with realtors. I have a service industry, I have another service industry, and then I have a whole network of people that's like, okay, if it's not a service, it's something that will help the realtor along the way to, again, add value. That's a very critical part of it. So they're not selling the house, they're closing. They're closing on a house. But in the sales terminology, we're closing a sale. But if you're in an industry where it's a product, you may have sold a product. So you're going to use different terminology for the same transaction. And what's important about that is if you posture, when you go to a one-on-one, if you posture to be the student to learn what that industry language is, then the next time you have an appointment, either with that individual or somebody in that industry, you pick their brain a little bit more, again, because everybody wants to be heard. They want to be accepted. And what we do when we put the other first, but also when we elevate the other person to be the mentor in that one-on-one situation, you close the gap from initiating a conversation that may lead to the close of a transaction. It closes very quickly. And that's very influential when it is that you are working with a lot of realtors. So I heard somebody say, you know, real estate agents and management companies. So management companies are going to have a little bit different industry. And the more that you have the opportunity to talk with different people in a similar industry, the more language you're going to have. And you know what? Education is all about how you continue to grow as an individual. So I want to talk about moving from industry and the individual to now what is the difference between follow-up and follow-through. So let's just say that I'm dealing with a car salesman. We've had positive experiences with car salesmen, or you may have had a negative one, but you have some memory with a salesperson that deals with cars. The thing is, in the industry with cars, they're not called, you know, the product. It's a unit. So if I go up to a salesman and I say, you know, I want to talk about this unit, they're like, wait a minute, what, do you have a background in sales? Especially as a female, I've positioned myself with a little bit of savvy that may just kind of let that salesman know, I don't want to be taken advantage of, or, you know, whatever the circumstance is, because unfortunately sometimes those things happen. But the more we know, the better armed we are to go ahead and earn the respect and get to the result that is we want. So the difference between follow-up and follow-through, these numbers are very important. And I'm going to give you a little psychology behind the numbers. Not sales psychology, I'm going to give you a little brain psychology behind it. One of the things that I do is I'm a responder. I'm classified as a first responder because when first responders are running in, I'm running in right behind them for the mental wellness of critical and traumatic stress incidents. I work a lot with military, military, law enforcement, and several different agencies that respond to anything local or on a national scale. Veterans are a big part of the big community that I serve. So one of the things is, what I want you to understand, in the brain, the first 24 hours that there is an engagement of something, the brain actually releases a lot of chemicals that is now looking for information centers to deposit the information, okay? So when you come to a meeting and you see a new face, your brain is searching that room, and how many of you locked and loaded, like, oh, new face? Your brain creates a new file for that. And that new file is a hot file. It's wanting more information. It's a hungry file. It's asking for more, and therefore, instinctively and also industry-wise and as a professional, you are more compelled to go gather information. Who is this person? What do they do? And, you know, depending on what your goal is for your business, you're trying to connect the dots because this is what your brain is doing in the first 24 hours. So it's important. Either send an email, send a text, make some kind of contact, whether it's a snail mail, just write it out for yourself and send it. Because in the next 48 hours, what's going to happen, if it's local and you drop it in the mail the same afternoon, within 48 hours, they're going to get back. And guess what you just did? You moved it back up to the top of mind. It's like, oh, wow, this person's on top of their game. And it also, what it does is it brings you to top of mind for them, but it also puts more drops in the bucket. It's like, ooh, you know what? This is a sharp tack. I definitely want to do some business with that. And it sets you apart in the industry. And it sets you apart in the sales field. Simply because people want to do business with people that are successful, that get results. And it's also, it does have the component of being a little bit convicting. It's like, oh, you know what, I'm not doing this. It's like, that makes it more appetizing when you ask for that one-on-one after they've gotten a card or a text or an email. It's like, oh, you know what? Suddenly they feel elevated. Oh, they want to meet with me because you don't know what's gone through their brain. What you do know is you've created a top-of-mind awareness, and you want to set that appointment with, before the 72 hours. Because the more you move that to the top of mind, the more that file is getting a little bit thicker. And so what's happening in your brain is it now has a retrieval system. Now if the name comes up that's similar to the individual that they've seen a card from, that they've seen an industry of, it's bringing information from other files into this. It's like, oh, okay, you know, it's Randy. Okay, I know Randy. Okay, there's this Randy, this Randy, this Randy, and the brain is putting information into that. So that when you actually have the one-on-one meeting, you now have a pretty good filing system that your brain can retrieve information from. So follow through is this. Here's the difference. Some of us gather the cards. I hope everybody has one of these, right? Okay. If you are giving this to somebody before they ask for it,
Garbage. Here, you throw
it's going to be filed somewhere.
garbage.
Remember, know, like, trust, and respect. Ask me if I want your business card. It's not that I don't want it, and don't take it personally if they don't offer you theirs. It's the difference between adding a drop in the bucket or kicking that bucket over before you ever get that first one-on-one meeting. You know, because the same thing, and this is something that does go through my mind. I'm going to be very transparent here. When somebody just puts it out there, I'm like, you assume that I'm ready to help you, and I don't know anything about you. And I will be very forthright. It's like, I think to myself, unfortunately, and this is what goes through my mind. I'm told you to be transparent. It's like, you assume I want to jump in the bed with you, and I don't even know your name. And really, that's what you've done. You've invaded somebody's filing system, assuming that they want to create a file for you. Instead of earning the respect, remembering the end goal, it's not that that person particularly is your client, customer, or your ideal target to close a sale with. This person represents hundreds, maybe multi-thousands of people that earned the respect. Cultivating the relationship will make that your greatest referral system, one of your greater referral systems. So follow through is this. If I know a dozen marks, and I know a dozen marks, or maybe 6 dozen marks that do computer repairs, I'm going to think through that, and I'm going to have a stack of cards, and somebody's asking me for information for a computer repair. My brain is automatically going to go through the system, and I'm going to go, oh yeah, you know what? I need to call this mark with this referral. I got to get to that, and I pull the card out. I set it aside, intending to follow up with making that connection. 24, 48, and 72 hours. Here's the thing. If I do it immediately, now I have the opportunity not only to follow up with Mark, but I've also communicated something to the person that told me, do you know somebody that's in your... Yes, I do. Let me do this. And I'm going to tell you, Mark is phenomenal about getting... I mean, if I need somebody, he's 5 minutes, even if it's that long, that I have 2 or 3 people that he's referred to me. I'm like, oh, I've got options here. Okay, so this is really good. But the thing about it is, if I wait, see, the transfer is of the information. The difference between follow up and follow through, and I'm going to give you an example of this, that we kind of got bit on yesterday, no pun intended, but our mosquito business got bit yesterday. Okay? We have many systems in which we have customer generations. It comes in through internet, it comes in through a phone system, and through email. Those are just 3 of the systems. And we have to cross-check everything, and something fell through the hole. And we call the customer back, and when we call the customer back, they said, you know what, you didn't get back to me quick enough. I called somebody else. Ouch. Ouch. That's the difference between follow up and follow through. When you set your goal before you ever have that meeting, you know your end goal is to close business somewhere down the line. Our gap rate is pretty small, simply because people are tired of being on the menu and slapping each other trying to kill the mosquitoes. And I think sometimes they use those little bugs as an excuse to slap somebody. But anyway, all that just to say,
You're giving away my secrets.
the secret, that's it. Outed you. But the thing is, when you follow through, you know that when you have that number, in order to close the rate of doing business, it's imperative that you contact that prospective customer, client, whatever you call them in your industry. Because the thing is, if you're following up, that's the danger of delay. Follow through is moving towards your goal, and they're two different things. And you need to start, the mindset has got to be set on the, how do I know if I have accomplished my goals? And it all has to do with follow through. That being said, I want to ask you, what is your perspective of this visual up here? Let me get some feedback. Some are going to say half full, some are going to say half empty. What's your perspective?
The boat's leaning to one side.
Or
full.
And the camera.
Okay.
Or the,
So now I'm going to ask you,
no, it's got to be.
are you half full? Are you half empty when it comes to having that one-on-one? See, because I've tried to share with you, and what I really try to model is there, you've got to be ready to pour in. You've got to be so full that you're ready to pour into others. Because the other is a receiving vessel. You may see this as slanted, and indeed it is, but do not prejudge the person that you're sitting in front of. And I mean in clothing, and I mean in mindset, and I mean in any possible way that you might prejudge. Oh, that person's not going to know anybody. Now, understand it's natural to come into a meeting, and depending on what industry you're coming from and what it is that you're seeking to achieve, you may be looking for sharper dressed in a sports coat type of an individual, assuming that this is the best contact when they may be a very good contact. But the person in the t-shirt and jeans next to them may just be as good a contact. And when we prejudge, it's the same thing as looking at it. It's like, you know what, it's slanted. Well, it's not the view that you expected, but the bottom line is that person is a vessel, and they're filled with something. They have relationships. They know people. They're in business. Find the common ground. And the generality cannot be, I'm looking for people with skin. You might just find somebody. If you find somebody that doesn't have on, run. If you find somebody that doesn't have skin, just run the other way. That's the thing. That's probably not your ideal client. Yes.
So you're touching on a pet peeve of mine.
Right, unless you're term.
In terms of who you look at and make determinations or judgments about, because we all tend to judge. But most people come to network meetings and they ask for someone who does this, whatever. Typical realtors, somebody looking to buy, sell, or rent a home. Most people don't know someone looking to buy, rent, or sell a home. So I've come to the conclusion that I really need to talk to people. I need to have a relationship with people who are not my ideal clients, but actually I need to have a relationship with people who talk to or have relationships with my ideal clients on a regular, daily basis, because they're the folks that can say talk to Lloyd. The average person here doesn't know a person that needs to do whatever, switch their electricity or whatever. They don't know, but an apartment manager, 10 people come in a day looking for an apartment, get what? Talk to Lloyd for your service.
Well, and I agree with that, and that's a very good thing. I do want to point something out. I'm just going to say this because you chose the electric industry. The thing is, it's not just when people move that they change providers. It's not just that, it's somebody that is getting ready to move if they need a realtor. Everybody knows somebody that's in transition to 1, 2, 3, or 4 degrees apart. it's important to do the homework, do the legwork, but do it in a timely manner so that you're not abusing your time. Because the thing with your hourly rate, the longer you spend in a one-on-one not accomplishing a goal that has been set, the lower your per hour rate potential goes to. So by that, let me just preface. You don't want to just go through and, leave people feeling like, wow, what was that? This is a hit and run.
Right.
We don't want hit and runs. We want meaningful, valuable, respect building time and opportunities to be seized. Because the thing is, you contain a lot of knowledge. And the knowledge that you have, it's a responsibility for you to share it. So educate. So I want to see you up here educating me on the benefits of X, Y, and Z. Whatever that is, educate me. Don't really sell me on it. Just educate me on what you know, because people do respect what you know, but they respect what you know more by how you care. How you care to do the transaction. So with that said, I'm going to give a little bit of time for some questions. So be thinking about your questions. But I haven't shared with you what I do. I meet people in places of pain to penetrate their heart with hope and help so that they get the help they need now. So I don't know if any of y'all noticed the ring, but one of the things is I'm a big supporter of 22 Kill. That way? Yes.
I felt it when I shook hands with you.
Yeah.
I was wondering.
Super heavy. Yeah. So the thing is, there's people in different places of pain. They may be in, my growing pains for my business. I don't know where that is. Well, I can help you there, but I have my limitations too. I don't want to be everything to everybody. I want to be available to anybody when they need me. Because pain can be physical, emotional, and invisible wounds. And pain can also be physical and impeding progress either in business, in families, or relationships. And that's what I do. So my counseling is crisis trauma response. And you can put part of the alphabet on the end of my name. I don't really care to do that. But the most important thing is I want to share with you why influence is important to your business. Influence matters. I'm going to share this with y'all simply because if you didn't know, when people respect and know, I'll put it up there. It may not go.
Is there?
Here we go.
Close, but
Okay.
feeling like I have no purpose. I feel like I need to get up and do something for myself and for my family. I think that, like, another thing I guess I've come to terms with is also like having another baby. Now I have more control of my emotions, and I definitely feel like it's time. It's what I definitely know I want in life and for my future, for my daughter and I.
So I want to ask you a little bit, and I'm going to drill down on that just a little bit. And again, I want to help you process through this, okay? How does Lontel feel about having another child?
He and I could talk about it, but only briefly before he just dismisses it. But I've kind of gotten to the point that we speak on it, but when I can tell that he gets upset, I just tend to not try to push him.
One thing I would really encourage you to do is have that conversation.
Whenever I begin to discuss having another baby with Montel, he pretty much avoids the entire conversation. I understand that we both lost our son, but I feel like this should be about me being ready, not anybody else.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask you one question about that. Get out of here. One question about that. What was one skill, taking from that scene, what's one skill that you need to implement to your business?
Listening.
It's the listening part. So let me just ask you. Does influence matter to the way that you market?
Absolutely.
I never pursued this opportunity. This wasn't something that I sought after. It was earning respect. Yes, I have people that like me. I have a lot of people that know what I do. Now, I can't do as many one-on-ones as are requested. That doesn't mean I'm snobby and I'm I am hard to reach. That being said, let me be honest here. It is hard to nail jello to a tree. That's me. Okay? But the thing is, when people know you. I may wear many hats, but here's the thing. It's not about the hats I'm wearing.
Right.
It's about who you are and how you conduct yourself no matter what. Because I want you to imagine that you have 3 circles. You've got your business, you've got your goals, and then you've got your activities over here. Just like the Olympics, you need to bring these 3 where it's in alignment. No matter when, no matter with whom, and no matter where it is that you are seeking to market. Influence will close the gap of introduction to impact a lot faster than if you're just like, okay, I need to do this over here for my business, and then, you know what, I should meet this person for this purpose, and you know what, they don't really like this type of a person, but that's my character, so I'm going to act a little bit differently over here. You know what, you will be outed quicker than anything, and you will leave that gap either open, or you will burn a bridge that is not one that can be recovered. So the important things about influence and impact is remember what your goals are first and foremost. Objectively and intentionally move towards that goal. Set boundaries for your meetings because you need them. You need them, otherwise you're wasting time. You're not investing time. Your time has value. We need to really start thinking about how the value is being used. And then additionally, follow through. Nothing does get finished. Nothing does get accomplished until the sale is finished. But start with selling yourself first by earning respect, adding value, and letting people get to know who you are. Because at the end of the day, whether it is me helping schools, and that is the one ask I have for you guys. I work with a lot of schools, and one of the needs, tremendous needs, in school districts is something that I get called out on over and over and over again. It's summertime, and you may think it's not a time that you know, I can connect her with the school. This is the perfect time to connect me with administrators, superintendents, because they're planning and preparing for next school year and the trainers that they're going to come in. So what I do is I help counselors, teachers, administrators know what to do when the unthinkable happens. Because everybody plans and prepares to the end of, you know, if we have a fire drill, if we have this, if we have lockdown. But what I do is I come in and I let them know when it happens. If it's real, this is what you can expect. Because if we can stop trauma in those 24, 48, and 72 hours, remember I told you those numbers are really important? Just like hot, warm, and cool, it's the same thing with the brain in trauma. I want to get people while things are really unfolding so that the brain gets the information to know how to stop the cycle that left ignored, neglected, and denied will lead to disorders. So get order in your business, and let me help you create influence and impact. I'm Veronica Seitz. Thank you.
It isn't enough to tell people what they need to do. You also need to tell them how to remember what you told them so they can use what you told them when they need to do it. How much more rapport would that create? And repeat business and referrals. And you know, it's not in any business books, but it's an easy process.